Hello, ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between and beyond. My name is Taylor, and welcome to the art table for December of 2023. Man, that feels weird to say. This time covering the fantastic artist known as Diiishiii or David. Now, I will be referring to David as Diiishiii just because that is his screen name. As per usual, all of his social media links will be in the description down below, so please by all means check him out. My usual spiel, I don't take any sort of kickback, promotion, commission, discount, or anything like that in relation to the video. If I have a commission done by the artist, I will let you know. Any commissions you have done by the artist are between you and them. Please understand that they are human beings. They have the right to refuse, set pricing, set timetables, everything like that. And any works you have done are between you and them. So please do not involve me in any way. I cannot and will not help you. I do this purely for the love of the artwork and have gotten written permission from every artist that I cover to feature their work on the channel. Please do not share their work without their permission. Feel free to share my video, but ensure that this disclaimer is kept in so that their artwork is properly credited. With all that being said, today's artist, or rather this month's artist, is a really interesting one. Now, Diiishiii clearly has a huge love for Gundam and mechs that we're going to see throughout the video. He also wears his inspirations and his heart on his sleeve. You can really tell what he likes through the artwork that he posts because a lot of it is fan art from other franchises. Now, as I have stated previously in other videos, I don't like to post too much fan art or too much work in relation to other series because I don't feel like that properly represents the artist. In some ways it does represent their style, but it doesn't necessarily represent what they can do in terms of original works. Now, Diiishiii does have some original works which I will showcase near the end of the video, but he has done so many amazing bits of fan art through different mediums that I felt it would be a disservice to him, his art style, and all the work he's put in to not showcase a majority of those fan art pieces. So I understand this is going potentially against what I had previously set out for myself, but there will be cases like this where it is a better representation of said artist to show their fan art, to show the things in relation to other established series or artworks, because they have less, I don't want to say original works. Original works is the wrong word because these are all his original works, even if they're based on other series. So until I find a proper term, I will just be going with, fan art. There's no term that I can think of off the top of my head, and I've been sitting here for the last 3 minutes trying to think about one. So yeah, I will be showcasing his fan art, and then his more completely, wholly original works at the end of the video. With all that being said, let's get into it. So the first piece I wanted to showcase was this awesome rendition of Zero from the Mega Man franchise, if you're not aware. Now, I really love the color scheme on this one, especially the use of Zero's kind of green glow, but also the subtle green outline to really give his character some nice figure and just a lovely silhouette. The colors, again, fantastic. He calls this a doodle. Now, to me, this is more than a doodle. This is a fully rendered piece. Like, this looks great. And I would be so curious to see him do, like, the rest of the Mega Man cast, especially the villains. Oh. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Yeah, this Zero piece really stood out to me because it's a piece of my childhood. And honestly, you're going to find that a lot with this video in particular because I was really into Gundam as a kid. Or like, robots or kind of sci-fi stuff. I'm not so much now, but a lot of this for me was not only fueled by the fantastic art and even the fact that his right boot, left boot, whatever's facing you, like to the right kind of center on, looks almost 3D, looks like it's coming off the screen. So not only the fantastic artwork, but also the nostalgia that I felt for a number of these franchises, which yes, did encourage me to show more fan art, because it's my channel, I can do what I want, and it still showcases Diiishii's work really well, I feel, and it kind of sets the tone for where we're going from here. So the next piece, or pieces technically, that I picked is a combo for a very specific reason. I've noticed a lot of artists don't post their kind of process, and I mean, that's fine, they don't have to, I'm not saying anything in that regard, but it was really interesting to me to see some of Diiishii's pieces and see how they develop, see how the frames are laid out, and then kind of what they develop into. So this is a rendition of both his work in progress and then finished work from No More Heroes. Now, I have not personally played No More Heroes, but again, just the fact that he's got the kind of outline, the ideas there present in the first one and where he wants to go with it, before finally fleshing it out with full colors, with a full background, was just really interesting to see for me, because I know I have a number of friends who are artists, and I've never actually been able to see their process in person before, just because I'm not going to hover over their shoulder while they're working. That's weird. So it was really interesting for me to be able to kind of get a glimpse of what that might look like. You know, how the rough lines turn into something really smooth, something really flowing, and kind of what notes an artist might put on the page for themselves to just say, okay, we're going to change this up later, or this is the idea that I'm going to go for when I finally render it, when I finally color it. And it was just a really nice glimpse into that world, like into what artists actually do. Because I know a few people who think that artists can just like snap their fingers and artwork's made. In reality, it takes hours, if not days, for one piece alone. And I think this helps to highlight that process, helps to kind of bring forth what an artist has to go through in terms of the planning. What kind of motion do they want? What kind of color scheme? You know, what do they need to change in terms of the lighting? There's a bunch of specific details that go into it. And this piece really highlights, again, the amount of work, the amount of thought that has to go into every single piece that an artist does if they want it to turn out well. And I would say, personally, this one turned out pretty damn well. So this next piece that I selected was Leo Fitoa? Sorry, I don't actually know her name. I understand, after doing some very surface level research, that she's a character from the animated movie Promare, which to me is really interesting, especially in terms of its color scheme, because that was like a super colorful animated movie. Think along the lines of Cyberpunk Edge Runners in terms of just the bright colors and all the variety. And I was really amazed at how subtle he was able to capture the changes in her hair. Again, this is a, quote, doodle, though I think is fantastically done. But yeah, the hair to me really stood out because you see like where the light is coming from in terms of the top of her head and how the yellow subtly and gradually changes towards that green color. You also see how the shading changes on the outline of her back, indicating where the light source is. Again, all of these things that people don't think about when they think, oh, I want to commission an art piece. All of these things an artist has to keep in mind at all times. And it was just a beautifully done piece that, to me, highlights some of the variety that Diiishiii has, because I will be showing a number of mech or mechanical pieces. So this to me felt simpler in a manner of speaking. Like, it was not, I'm assuming not an easier piece, but it felt like there was less detail that he had to worry about when rendering this one, as opposed to some of the later, more complex ones we're going to get into. And again, the colors really jumped out at me. You know me, I love bright colors, I love differently colored things. So this just me screamed awesome, like screamed different, unique. It screamed really well done, and I think that's something we're going to see with all of his fan art pieces. He clearly has a love for the franchise's series or characters that he decides to pick, that he decides to render, and it comes through with how he works. He doesn't just pick these series because they're popular, he picks them because he cares about them, because he loves them, and we're going to see that so much more with some of the upcoming pieces. So I've been talking about his mechs and his Gundams forever. Here's the first piece that really, really drew me in, I'm not going to lie, because this brought back so many memories for me. This is from SD Gundam, which had an animated series in 2001 that I still remember to this day watching on, oh god, was it Teletoon? Was it YTV? I think it was Teletoon. Because I think they had the 4Kids channel. I remember watching this through 4Kids. We didn't actually have like a dedicated 4Kids channel in Canada. We had a channel that showed their stuff. I can't remember what channel it was. Anyway, this to me was like, hang on. I've just unlocked like severely repressed childhood memories. Not because they're bad or anything. It's just because this was 2001. I was 5 years old and I still remember this show to this day. Because I loved how ridiculous they look. They're so tiny, but they're so fierce and they're so badass looking. And this is what I really wanted to highlight with his Gundam works. They're so incredibly detailed. Now, he has a lot of reference to work with, I'm sure, but still, recreating that is a whole nother situation in terms of, again, where the lighting is, where do you need shadow, how to get those hard edges looking like proper edges and not just kind of cut off little random squares. The color scheme, getting everything right takes so much work, and he's done an incredible, a mind-bogglingly good job with every single Gundam piece that he has made. There are going to be plenty more Gundams featured after this, but these were the first ones I wanted to feature because they're the only ones from SD that I'll be featuring. But like, again, this was the piece. This was where I said, okay, I need to contact this guy because I would love to show his work. I mean, I say that about a lot of people, but this was the piece I was like, I need this. I need this on the channel. I need this in the video. Like, oh, I loved Gundam SD or SD Gundam. I can't remember which. Yeah, this is where the nostalgia trip starts. So fair warning, buckle up. So the nostalgia trip isn't going to start quite yet, as unfortunately I did have to remove a piece, which I incorrectly accredited to David. It was not another artist's work. It was a t-shirt that I was kind of hoping he drew, but it is what it is. So in place of that, I wanted to pick this very much work in progress piece that he claims he did with a friend. Now, I do not know who that friend is. It is not, as far as I can tell, linked in the tweet, and it is not. This individual is not named in the tweet, so I don't know who they are, but it stuck out to me, A, because I love Jujutsu Kaisen. You know, I think it's great. B, art never struck me as a group activity, and I think that was just me not really thinking about it, not really broadening my mindset. Now, I know there are some people who, like, sit on Discord and chat with each other, even when they're playing different games, just to kind of hang out, and this feels like a, hey, I want to get some work done, or I want to do some chores, why don't we just hang out while I'm doing whatever I've needed to do? And I think the friend's artwork in the background is really funny. Like, it's super encouraging and wholesome to see. Just friends supporting each other. I think that's awesome. Everything in this piece is really well done. The Gojo, the Itadori, I can't remember the third one just because I'm not quite looking at it at the moment. But I was just, again, really kind of cool to see, you know, people doing stuff together, even if they're not doing the same thing together. And artists being supported by friends, because I understand it's a difficult path to take, especially if you are full-time. You know, you're, again, it's by nature a lonesome or individual process for the most part. And that can really hamper friendships, that can hamper social relationships because you're so focused on, I need to get this piece done so that I can get paid, so I can pay rent, so I can buy groceries. But then you don't want to ignore A, your mental health, and B, your social life and your friends and family in hopes that, you know, you can get paid sooner. So it's a difficult work-life balance, especially when that balance is purely on you. You don't have set hours, you don't have a boss, you don't have the same kind of regulations controlling you. So this to me was a really awesome subversion of that idea that you always have to be working alone. You always have to be working on your own or by yourself, and you can't just spend time with friends and get work done at the same time. Anyway, again, this was a last-minute addition because of some changes, so I do apologize if this one feels out of place, but it felt worthy of showcasing nonetheless. So we've reached the midpoint of the video. Thank you, ladies, gentlemen, everyone in between and beyond, so much for being here, so much for checking out Diishii's work. There will be more coming up after this, but I wanted to quickly jump in, remind you guys that all of his social medias, including his art station, will be linked in the description down below. He does have 2 Twitter accounts. One is an old account, one is a newer account. It does say new account in it. They are both active as far as I'm aware, but I would say if you would like to contact him under his new account, because as far as I believe, that is the one he has full control over. I don't know why he has 2 accounts, but that is for him to elaborate if he feels like. So, real quick, any commissions you have done are between you and the artist. I'm in no way involved. They have the right to refuse, set pricing, set time frames, everything like that. And just be courteous, be respectful. They're human beings just like you. They have jobs, they have lives. And especially with pieces like this, especially with something like a mech or a Gundam, I imagine it would take a bit of extra time because you need all those tiny details. You have to create the motion of all those moving parts and make everything feel just right. So just be patient, be understanding, and with all that being said, let's get into more of those Gundam, more of those mechs. So this is the first full-size Gundam piece that I wanted to feature, and I believe it is called Red Frame. You know, who would have guessed? But I'm just constantly blown away whenever I look at his Gundam works, any of his works really, but like especially his Gundam because of the amount of time, effort, and detail that has to go into these things. It just, I cannot wrap my head around it. I can't wrap my head around how artists do so many different things, but this to me is like, what the heck, man? Like, and again, his passion comes through so much in proper stances, proper details down to the finest, smallest lines. Like, it is absolutely incredible, and I think if you like mechs, or if you like the genre, or if you like Gundam, like, this is the artist for you if you want to commission a piece. Now, again, by all means, feel free to contact him, but he does reserve the right to refuse or change anything as he sees fit. He's the artist, you're the customer, that's how it goes. But, again, his love and passion for Gundam, his love and passion for mechs, comes through with this piece, and it'll come through in the other pieces that I'm going to feature, but like, I don't know how to properly put into words how genuinely impressed by all of this that I really am, because I can't fathom the amount of time and effort it would take to decide, okay, first of all, what pose to put him in, second of all, what do you need to focus on, what details need to be there to accurately portray this character, to accurately portray everything that is going on. And I genuinely don't know what else to say other than, wow, technically Gundam, but I would say it's Gundam adjacent, and I don't know if you'd consider it mech adjacent or if what these guys would actually fall under, but this was the other piece that, again, unlocked memories for me that I didn't know I had hidden away. These, for those of you who don't remember or have never seen the show, are Metabots. Basically, it was another kind of collectible thing for kids to play with around the time of Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, things like that, except these had little hexagon-shaped chips that you could put onto the little robot figure that would, in the show, obviously, give it different weapons or powers. And again, I had completely forgot the show existed, and I was like, oh my god, this was a thing. This was my childhood. I remember going home after school and watching the show. I remember having these toys. It was just so weird to see it pop up again out of seemingly nowhere. I understand it's mech related, but like, to me, it was like, what the heck is going on? But also, the other thing that caught my eye was this Blender animation, or this Blender rendering that Diiishiii has done. Now, to me, 2D, like two-dimensional art is hard enough to understand how exactly they do it, how exactly they make it look so 3D, let alone actual 3D rendering in an animation or rendering software. Like, what I was saying earlier about all the details and things for making something look 3D in a 2D space is already incredible, let alone making that same figure, making that same type of object, or in this case, humanoid thing. It's not a person, it's a robot, I don't know, in an actual 3D space. Making it an actual 3D model is incredible. Not to mention the work that he has done, the attention to detail that he's clearly shown. Again, it just goes to show the variety and the depth of appreciation he has for these series, and I'm just blown away. There's nothing else I can say that will coherently or accurately convey the amount of awe that I am in looking at some of these pieces. I mean, that goes for every artist, but like this just, I physically cannot find the words in this moment, nor do I think I can find the words later on to accurately describe how confused I am as to how this all actually works. As far as I'm concerned, it is either advanced technology or magic. I'm going to go with magic. Next, we come to what I believe is going to be the most well-known Gundam, if there is such a thing. To me, like, this is the iconic Gundam. Of course, I can't remember the pilot's name. I can't remember the name of the Gundam itself. This was a long time ago for me. But when I think of Gundam, when I think of, mechs outside of specific series, this is the image that pops into my head. This is what I remember as a kid watching, usually Gundam SD, actually, literally the SD version of this character, or of this robot. But, again, this to me was iconic, and if I'm mistaking it with something that's far more iconic that I'm sure might fill the space, then I do apologize to the mech community, to Diiishiii himself. I'm sure this video hurts to listen to, as in, I'm making widely, potentially incorrect assumptions and just making blanket statements that could be blatantly wrong, because I have a hazy memory of a time from when I was like between 5 and 9 years old, which is at this point almost 20 years ago, and I kind of hate myself that I just said that. But I don't know, this again to me is the iconic Gundam, will be the poster child for Gundam in the future as far as I'm concerned. But again, I'm not part of that community. I love this piece. Well done, same as the rest of them, and again, to me, iconic. Hey, post-editing Taylor here. So I've had a chance to talk with Diiishiii after he saw the original version of the video. Turns out this is not the iconic Gundam I thought it was. It is a, as far as I can tell, variation on it, or has a very similar color scheme. The way I would describe it, it's like the difference between Greymon and Poor Greymon in terms of it. This one has a little more armor, looks definitely distinct from the quote most iconic Gundam, but I can see how, and again, in my hazy memory, I got it confused. And yes, I absolutely did just cement myself as a nerd. I'm okay with that. But yeah, I did want to make that quick correction. Following that with a Gundam who I have no idea where it's from, what series it is, who pilots it, what its name is. I really liked this blue piece, partly because it stood out to me as really interesting in terms of its color scheme, in terms of its design. Just everything kind of jumped out to me, especially the background. I was not expecting a bright, saturated yellow background, but I love just how much it helps that blue pop, helps that black pop. It really contrasts to give a really slick, clean visual outline as to where the Gundam is versus the background. You don't have any sort of blending, you don't have any sort of mix-up. It's just a super clean combination. And this is, I think, one of my favorite pieces just because of how clean it is, how detailed, how well cared for it was in its creation, at least based on appearances. So I don't know, I really like this piece for no other reason than it is by far, in my opinion, the cleanest and just super, super well done. A fantastic rendition and showcase of what Diiishiii is really capable of doing. So for the second to last piece, I really wanted to cover this kind of combo between the actual Gundam and then the SD version of said Gundam, because these to me just scream edge. Like this is what I would have loved as a kid. Like the black, the red, the dark gold. It's so edgy, it's so dark. And like, admittedly, it looks fantastic. It looks super badass. I'm not arguing that, but like, childhood me would have gone bananas over this. And I just, again, fantastically well done, but also shows you the differences between the SD and then the regular as to like how they had to change proportions, how they had to change the face structure, how they had to change numerous things to get it to that small size. And the fact that David is able to recreate that, the fact that he is able to display that properly is awesome. Like, genuinely, the level of skill that all of the artists on the art table this year have shown are the ones that I've lined up for next year will show. Is just, it is beyond mind-blowing. I cannot fathom how much time, effort, blood, sweat, and tears have gone into their work. And I want to make sure that is never diminished. That is never just, oh, they're really talented, so it must be easy for them. I understand that this is not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy road to take because a lot of the times it doesn't always pay the bills. So every artist that I feature is not necessarily a full-time artist, though I do try to focus on them when I can, because if it's their only source of income or if it's their primary source of income, they need more eyes on their work. They need more people saying, hey, can you do this thing for me and I will pay you. Obviously, even part-time artists need that too, so I never want the efforts of the artists to be diminished in any way, shape, or form. Even if they're talented, they put in their blood, sweat, tears, and hours upon hours of work into everything they do. So always keep that in mind when you're looking at these pieces, especially with this last piece. Now, the last piece I wanted to showcase in today's video was David's original work. And his original works primarily consist of women mixed with cars in a different way than Disney Pixar had imagined it. These are usually women whose clothing is kind of replaced by car parts, as you can see in the picture. But also, I don't know how much is meant to be like they become the car or they are representative of the car. I just know that they're an interesting idea, one that I haven't seen in this exact fashion before, and they're clearly something he has a passion for. There is more than just this character, which I believe is also his profile character, or profile picture, I should say. He has a number of them on his ArtStation, on his social medias, so by all means check them out. But there are certainly fewer of these types of works than the other ones, than the fan art that I have shown you today. David is a passionate artist. He clearly cares about what he does, and he clearly has a love for these fandoms, for these series, that runs deep, and it really shows in his artwork. So one more time, it is Diiishiii, Diishii. On Twitter, he has both an old and a new account. I was not able to locate him on Instagram, but if I can find him, I will link that in the description down below. He also has an art station linked in the description down below. Feel free to check that out. Thank you, ladies, gentlemen, everyone in between and beyond, so much for sticking around to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. The YouTube stuff, it helps me out, and I would love to see the channel grow even more in 2024 to get these artists out in front of more people, to get more people in contact with these artists so they can make a better living, so they can keep on making a living in general and continuing to showcase and display their phenomenal art pieces. So if you have any artists you would love for me to cover in 2024, by all means, leave them in the comments down below. I will contact them. If they do not respond, I cannot do anything about that. Or if they say no, I will never cover an artist's work without their express permission. Please, again, let me know if there's anyone you want to see next year. I can't believe I've been able to make this series for a year. It feels fantastic, and I look forward to another amazing year of covering even more amazing artists. Thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it. See you in the next one. Bye-bye!